You might be facing some challenges with the criminal justice system, and if you are in federal prison, you really want to learn about the pre-sentence investigation report and why it's going to have such a huge impact on your life. My name is Michael Santos, and we have a whole team here at Prison Professors that really strives to provide content that will help you make better decisions if you're going into the system. Now, I don't know if you're consuming this content on YouTube or on iTunes, but if you visit us at Prison Professors and you look at our blog page at the top of our channel, which is, I'm going to point to it on YouTube, right up there, you will see that we're always producing new content, and it's not only my partner Justin or I that's producing the content, but it's other people on our team. What we want to do now is make sure that you can get that content any way that you want it, whether it's through video or through audio. And so we decided to start making these media publications more regularly. Now, on the website itself, you know that you could just click that button right there and get a free book that will help you understand a little bit more about the journey and how you can position yourself for the most successful outcome, and it's totally free. Right now, what I'd like to do is just read this article in case you don't have time to read. You want to get this information while you're driving down the road. This was submitted to us by one of our teammates. I don't know if I can use her name because she's actually on home confinement right now. And it's one of the things that we strive to do is we provide jobs for formerly incarcerated people. And if they have a high level of expertise or a skill set, we try to provide a job for them. And this young woman is a former lawyer, and sadly, she went to prison for a white-collar crime. And she's writing to us about what her experiences were with the pre-sentence investigation report. And so she wrote this article about frequently asked questions, and I'm going to read it to you. And I'll give some commentary as we're kind of going along here. So she writes, for answers to frequently asked questions about the pre-sentence investigation and report, read below. Prepare to achieve a better sentencing outcome. 6 months on the other side of my time in federal prison, I am sitting at my computer thinking about the journey as specific questions comes to mind. Did I understand the pre-sentence investigation process as I was going through the criminal justice system? That's a really good question, and I'm just going to break in periodically and give some analysis because a lot of people don't understand the importance of it. A lot of people don't recognize how this pre-sentence investigation, which is effectively a conversation with a probation officer, is going to influence my life at different stages of the journey. Let's see what she has to write about it. The honest answer is not much. At the time, I was in denial about my criminal case and the prospect of prison time. I went to the pre-sentence investigation interview with no overarching mitigation strategy. I knew I had to be honest, and I knew to cover my substance abuse issues in detail to qualify for the residential drug abuse program. And then there's a link there that goes to the clinical, to an introduction on that, which we have at another area on our program. In the end, I was lucky, she writes. I reported to federal prison to serve my sentence. I qualified for RDAP as expected and received a 1-year time cut plus 6 months in a halfway house. On a 58-month sentence, I spent 27 months away from home in federal prison. Things worked out about as well as I could have hoped. Not everyone is as lucky. Many people in prison struggle to correct mistakes or misinformation in their pre-sentence investigation report. Their attorneys never reviewed the PSR or took the opportunity to ask for corrections before it was final. The repercussions of these mistakes are real. For example, some people in prison fail to qualify for early release jobs in prison. They fail to get needed medical treatment, or they fail to get designation to a facility consistent with their security risk, all because of misinformation or mistakes in the pre-sentence report. Forbes recently reported on one extreme case where information in a defendant's PSR dogged him for years and resulted in violence and abuse during his time of incarceration. Read here about inmates' misclassification in the pre-sentence investigation report. Let me take a look at that and see where it goes. Oh, it goes right to a Forbes article by Walter Pavlo. So you can click that link right there and learn about Joshua Fields and his particular case. And that, again, is right in there's a link right in the article. Bottom line, she says, mistakes and misinformation in the PSR happen. It may not be intentional. Outworked federal probation officers miss important details. However, given their critical role in the federal criminal justice system, nothing about the PSI or PSR should be left to chance. Our team at Prison Professors and Earning Freedom Company works with clients to prepare a comprehensive sentence mitigation strategy, including preparing for the pre-sentence investigation, the interviews, and the sentencing hearing. We work with clients, lawyers, to help them achieve their goals. That's true. But, there's plenty of information that we offer right here on our YouTube channel or through our podcasts, and of course on our websites at prisonprofessors.com. Here are some frequently asked questions and responses. What is the pre-sentence investigation? Well, after a criminal conviction or trial or guilty plea, the court orders the U.S. Probation Office to conduct a pre-sentence investigation in aid of sentencing. The PSI can be defined as an investigation to understand the defendant as a person, the circumstances surrounding the defendant's crime, and to postpone an appropriate sentence to the court. So, what is the pre-sentence investigation? It's just the initial interview that a person has with a probation officer. It culminates in a report. The attorney should be with the person before that interview. Sometimes attorneys don't go. In any event, it behooves every individual to learn as much as possible about the investigation, how to prepare for it, and to understand how is this going to influence life going forward. What is the purpose of the PSI and PSR? PSI and PSR are, basically the pre-sentence investigation, and the PSR is the pre-sentence investigation report. It's the document that follows for somebody who's gone through it. So, their primary purpose is to provide sufficient information to assist the court in deciding on an appropriate and fair sentence, consistent with the punishment, deterrence, and corrective goals of sentencing. So during a sentencing hearing, there is initially going to be this discussion between the judge, the U.S. attorney, and the defense attorney on any factors where there is a disagreement. And that PSR is going to play an important role because frequently, particularly for white-collar crimes, there are issues that influence the amount of loss, which influences the federal sentencing guidelines table. So that's an important data point to remember. And of course, there's a lot of information about that on our website for free. We encourage you to review, learn, and read, and read and learn. Here's another question. What type of information is part of the PSI and PSR? Well, as summarized for the court in the PSR, the PSI covers in detail the history, including educational, criminal, family, and social background of a person convicted of a crime. It summarizes for the court the background information needed to determine an appropriate and fair sentence. Now, if you have access to the internet, we encourage you to visit the website. If you go to the top of the website, I'm going to continue with these questions. I just want to show you. You could see examples of PSIs and PSRs. Just type it into the search bar of our website, and you will get, or on our YouTube channel or anywhere else, and you'll find all kinds of information on both the investigation and the report and what can work well, what doesn't work well. What happens during the pre-sentence investigation? During the pre-sentence investigation, a U.S. probation officer interviews the defendant and other people who can provide relevant information, including the prosecutor, law enforcement agents, victims, mental health and substance abuse treatment providers, family members, associates, defense counsel, and employers. After the investigation, the U.S. probation officer will write the PSR, consolidating all the pertinent information for the sentencing judge. The Federal Bureau of Prisons will use this information contained in the PSR for several purposes. For example, BOP uses information from the PSR to determine an inmate's security list and prison designation. I hate to use the word inmate, but there it is. I'm probably going to edit that later because it's just people, right? We're all people. Just because you go to prison doesn't make you any less of a person, and it's important to remember that and to keep your dignity intact while you're going through these challenges. Here's another question. Will I be drug tested at my pre-sentence investigation interview? No, typically. However, a probation officer can drug test for purposes of the PSI at any time. How long does the PSI interview take? Generally, the interview lasts 2 to 4 hours and takes place at the U.S. Probation Office. It could go longer, so it's best to be available for as long as necessary. The probation officer controls the schedule. In some cases, the U.S. Probation also does a home visit. Advanced preparation for the PSI and home visit is vital. Pro tip, talk to legal counsel and sentencing mitigation experts well in advance of your PSI interview. And now in this era of COVID, a lot of times these interviews take place over Zoom. How does the Bureau of Prisons use the information in the PSR? The Bureau of Prisons classifies inmates based on a security classification system. The BOP places a considerable amount of weight on the PSR. The BOP trusts the information contained in the PSR because it comes from the U.S. Probation Office. Where additional information contradicts or undermines information in the PSR, the BOP typically is going to accept the version in the PSR. The BOP's understanding of the person in custody is shaped primarily by the PSR, which provides them with an overview of the criminal case and the defendant's personal background, health conditions, family situation, and past criminal record, among other things. For starters, the BOP relies on the PSR to classify the inmate and assign a security level to determine the level of supervision the defendant requires and where the person will spend the sentence. The BOP uses the PSR for many other purposes, including verifying education and offering programming opportunities such as drug education and substance abuse programs in prison. Here's a question. What are some tips for the pre-sentence interview? Arrive on time. Some tips for the PSI. Arrive on time, be prepared, be forthcoming. For example, be prepared to discuss your criminal offense. Remember that the probation officer will share your answers and demeanor with the sentencing judge. Accept responsibility as appropriate and show remorse. And on that front, we really encourage you to write this out in a really detailed narrative that kind of explains your journey and what you've learned from this process. Consult with legal counsel in advance. Consult with sentencing mitigation experts in advance. Have a sentence mitigation strategy. Do not hold back from discussing any substance abuse and mental health issues, especially as related to RDAP. Bring a contact list of people that you suggest the probation officer interview as part of the investigation. Share your medical issues, including any history of significant medical problems, current medical problems, prior treatment, medications. This information will follow you as the BOP into the BOP should you receive a prison sentence, and bring a complete list of prescription medications and dosages. Again, we've written really extensive articles on the PSR. Encourage you, if you don't have a guide, make sure you do your research. Does the probation officer talk to my defense team about mitigating circumstances? Well, probation officers might speak with your defense attorney and the prosecutors involved in the case. Actually, they'll definitely speak to the prosecutors. Your attorney should seek out the probation officer conducting the interview to explain your involvement in the offense and any mitigating circumstances that the judge should consider at sentencing. Does the probation interview the victims during the PSI? Probation may very well be interested in talking to victims. The victim impact statement section of the PSR may include the views of the victims, if any. Are there additional factors that probation considers during the PSI? Don't overlook the fact that behavior during the pretrial supervision is also part of the investigation. A person's ability to comply with the rules of the pretrial release and reporting requirements during pretrial is a critical aspect of the investigation. For more information about the PSI, check out another article from Prison Professors here, and there's a link right there to another free article. Let's see if this is the extensive one. We have so much content on the PSR that we really encourage. This is a rather extensive article with examples of questions and suggestions on how to respond. Really encourage you to read and learn and participate so that you are putting yourself in the best position. What do we got here at the bottom here? Prison Professors, an earning fruiting company, works alongside civil and criminal defense counsel to help clients. Okay, that's kind of like an advertisement. You don't need that right now. What you need to know is that this may be a difficult time for you, but you can work your way toward a better outcome. We encourage you to learn as much as you possibly can. At Prison Professors, we offer a lot of free information. We've got a great team of mitigation experts who will be happy to share their experiences, but nobody should work harder for your preparations than you. I'm Michael Santos. I did 26 years in prison, so I know a lot about this. My partner Justin served time and has worked with more than, certainly thousands of people who've gone through it. So we know how important this is. We encourage you to prepare, and that's the reason that we produce so much content with hopes of helping you. Visit us at prisonprofessors.com if you're listening to us on iTunes, and you can see what I'm reading. But if you're watching this on YouTube, again, visit us. And if you're on our website, we want to thank you for being here. We hope that you subscribe to our newsletter. Thanks.